Joker 2 came out this year in 2024. This follows Arthur Fleck, played by Joaquin Phoenix, as it basically goes on trial for everything that happened in the first movie. And the best way of describing this film is, it's basically just a catalyst of everything that happened in the first film. This only works as a part 2 to that movie, basically showing the results and the consequences of his actions, and what the results are as he goes on trial in court and goes between Arkham and between the courthouse. Because those are mainly where this movie takes place. And, well, there's a few scenes where it's, like, out in the city, but that is only at the end of the film. But that's probably the best way of describing it. And, oh yeah, also it's the most stylized film I've ever seen, mostly because it's a musical, and it works so wonderfully. And so you have Joker's laugh mixed with, like, you have these dance numbers and these highly stylized musical sequences that flow into the other scenes in the movie so well, because it displays Arthur's thoughts. You kind of feel that they fit so well in the movie, because you feel that these are things that are actively going on in Arthur Fleck's mind, and a lot of them do play into the plot. And also, they're just magnificent to look at. Most of this movie is, like, just any visual in this film, once you lay your eyes on it, it just looks beautiful and you cannot look away. That is a result of most of the musical sequences in the film. It's very good. But you know what else is very good? Joaquin Phoenix's performance as Arthur Fleck and as the Joker for like 0.01% of the film. And I don't really mind that, because even in the first one, I feel it wasn't about the Joker. It was about Arthur Fleck. And then the second one, it wasn't about the Joker. It's not about the Joker. It's about Arthur Fleck. Because Arthur Fleck isn't even really the Joker in the first one. He didn't even call himself the Joker. It was other people who called him the Joker, and then spinned it into him calling himself the Joker. Oh shit, never mind. Yeah, so he's not even directly the Joker, because he didn't even really come up with that name. Because somebody else came up with that name. It obviously was Thomas Wayne that started the Joker movement. And so yeah, he's not even really the Joker, so it's about art. So, also this police officer in the film is a strangely, like, I don't know, I really like his character for a lot of reasons, because they make him unnecessarily interesting within the film, because it's just this guard at Arkham who's constantly around Arthur, and he's kind of like his quote-unquote buddy. He likes being around him. Basically, he's smooching. Basically, he's kissing his ass the whole movie, except for when he talks bad about him in court, and then all the guards absolutely pummel him, which is kind of like, you're watching these courtroom scenes, and you're watching the results of that back at Arkham, and it's kind of, some scenes, it's a little bit crazy, like this one scene, where he goes back to the trial, goes back to Arkham, and then the guards just absolutely pummel him, and it's a very intense, very well done sequence. Also, the courtroom sequences are just absolutely amazing. I actually love this courtroom sequence, and you could easily say, it's just a redone of the first film, and no, yes, you could easily say that. But I still think it is important to watch the first one before watching the second one, because this movie pretty much only works as a part 2 to that film. And in this one, yes, it is mostly a recap, but you also get to learn more things about his past. And as he revisits that, and he kind of reopens an old wound, that being his abusive childhood with his mother and his abusive father and all that. Because one of the witnesses takes a stand, which is Sophie from the first film that he hallucinated having no relationship with. And she basically talks about how Penny would say that he's just kind of stupid, he's not that, I don't know. And Arthur's like, and it is such an intense sequence, seeing Arthur's kind of seeing Arthur and then seeing back on this, and then it goes into this beautiful dance number and a musical number, and it is just amazing. I mean, I love the courtroom sequences. Mostly, I love this movie. I'm tired of it. I'm tired, like, all these reviews saying it's not good. I think that's because they don't, I think it's just because, I don't know why, but, I really enjoyed it. I loved this movie. But guess what? There's still way more to talk about. That being the later part of this film, and yeah, so eventually the courtroom just explodes once the verdict is made that he is guilty, because he ends up representing himself and he ends up just spilling his guts for how, also, yeah, he killed his mother. That's not something that they knew about. So now he has even more charges on him. So he gets called guilty. I mean, he wasn't gonna be not guilty. Yeah. So then later, when they get his verdict back, the whole courtroom just explodes. And when you see Arthur kind of crawling back out of the rubble, you see Harvey Dent's face. One side is a little bit more burnt than the other side. And when I watched on the theater, like, I kind of saw it behind Arthur, like, kind of like in the background. I was like, I mean, like, clearly Todd Phillips wanted you to see it. Because, I mean, it was kind of obvious. It was there. He was literally sitting up, looking directly at the camera, kind of like shaking. Like, yeah, one side of that face was a little bit more burnt than the other, I do have to say. And, so Arthur crawls out of the rubble and basically tries to get out of there. And now he starts running because he wants to go visit Harley, or Lee, played by Lady Gaga. And they end up having this beautiful conversation on the steps. Not beautiful necessarily, but they just talk on the steps, and how Lee basically lied to Joker or is lying to Arthur this whole time about who she was. She's actually rich. She committed herself, and then she committed herself to Arkham just to be around him, and then left Arkham just when she felt like it. Like, literally, she is insane. And Arthur was like, "Oh, dagnabbit, my lawyer was right. I guess Lee isn't a very good person." And then, yes, and then he gets arrested. He goes back to Arkham. And here's the ending, and here's why it's all so controversial. The ending where Joker gets told that he has a visitor, okay? And then Arthur goes into the hallway, and an inmate comes up behind him, and he's basically like, "Hey man, I want to hear a joke." And he's like, "Okay." So they tell him this joke that basically goes like, you see this clown you have this big idea of what this guy is, but he didn't realize he's just this small, little, sad man, pathetic man. And then that's basically Arthur in a nutshell. And then so the inmate basically just starts stabbing him to death. And Arthur just starts like falling around him and just ends up dead. But in the background of that, the other guy is just laughing his hell and kind of cutting his face into a grin. This is great. Now, it was mixed on it when I first saw it, but now about roughly a day after that, I rewatch it, and I am like, I actually think that ending is great. And want to know why? Because it's showing him pass on the mantle. And also because just how many internet theories were right on this. Because before the first movie came out, a lot of people made theories about the film that, like, Arthur Fleck is not the real Joker. They predicted the ending of the second movie for just what the first one would be about. That is crazy. But yeah, they got it right, and it is just I really liked it. So it shows that Arthur is not the real Joker. He couldn't have been the real Joker. I mean, it's Arthur Fleck. But this other guy, and now he has this grin cut out on his face. I mean, it's the Joker, baby. I mean, what else can you say?